Okay, we're gonna try it anyway. All right, tell me about Pennsylvanians for Fair Funding.
Okay, so Pennsylvanians for Fair Funding started when we were early in the pandemic, and myself and one other school board member kept talking about how we, and even before the pandemic, we had been talking about how to engage other school board members from districts across the state in the fair funding issue. So we had talked about like, well, how do we get people together? How do we work on this with other districts? Because Pottstown's really loud, but we want to like pair that and amplify it with other school board members. So the pandemic hit, and after about a month of us, early pandemic crisis, like what do we like? Just the sheer shock of it all. After about a month, we were like, let's reach out to other board members in other underfunded districts and see if they want to meet via Zoom because we're all on Zoom now anyway. And so that's what we started doing, and we kind of just slowly built up. There was a school board member in Bethlehem who we found early on, who she was really like, she's a core part of the team now. And just, reached out to Scranton and reached out to Harrisburg and reached out to Lancaster and Upper Darby. And there was just more and more folks who were involved. And so that became, to a large degree, it became weekly meetings, workshops, and that sort of thing. And then working on like projects, like what can we do together? And like, let's get a writers team together and do op-eds, and let's right now we have a legislative team that's kind of working on some strategy around like how to put the pressure on lawmakers, and there were rallies, and we also paired a lot with an organization called Power Interfaith, who's been working on this issue for long before us. So that's kind of how it started, and now
So that was started when you were a board member or before?
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so before that you got involved.
Before that, I was involved with Power, and they had me speak at one of their rallies. It was actually a rally that ended up being a really big rally in Harrisburg in 2019.
Oh,
But I had been working on it. Part of the reason they asked me to do that is because I was doing some stuff locally. Like I think I had mentioned before, we did a letter for uh, lawmakers on the education committees from clergy in and around Pottstown. So like coordinating stuff like that is something I had done before the organization started. But yeah, it was like really a very gradual thing. Like it started with like our superintendent hosted a parent advocacy training or meeting that I went to, and there was a board member who got to know me, and she kind of pulled me into the issue, and it kind of just snowballed. Like it wasn't like it happened all at once. It was just this slow. People say, "When did you start working on this?" And I was like, maybe 4 years ago was the very beginning, something in that neighborhood, but it was very small at first.
okay. And so does this tie in with that lawsuit?
Yeah. So it's the same issue as the lawsuit in that the lawsuit is about the state treating districts unfairly, like some districts having all the resources they could ask for and other districts not, and the state has a role to play in making sure that every Pennsylvania student gets what's called a thorough and efficient education. That's how it's written in the state constitution. And so the court case is alleging they're not doing that. They're not providing a thorough and efficient education, and they're violating equal protections because kids from particularly low wealth districts, but there's also a racial component that's really strong even beyond the wealth factor. Kids are not getting an equal or equitable education. So we're working on that issue more from the legislative angle, like trying to get lawmakers to change their minds and do something. But right now, it's overlapping really strongly with the court case because of the court case, the issue's on everybody's radar more. And if the plaintiffs win the court case, what the judge will end up doing is telling the legislature, you need to fix this. So it's still going to come back to needing the lawmakers to implement the solution.
Yeah.
So it's all one ball of wax right now.
And then tell me a little bit about what happened this Friday.
So last Friday was the very beginning of the trial. It was the first day of the trial. And advocates from around the state, there's a lot of education organizations that have been working on this to one degree or another. There was a big rally with a lot of different folks from different organizations in Harrisburg on the Capitol steps. And so I think there were probably around 200 people there. So we had a rally. A lot of people spoke, including students. And then we had bells. They had kind of set it up. They were talking about ringing the bells of justice. So we took the bells and we walked over to where the courthouse is So it was kind of like a celebration, demonstration, that sort of thing. It was great.
Oh, good. All right.
That's all I needed.
Because